Howdy folks, welcome back. Go ahead, strap yourselves in, grab a snack if you need to, because this is going to be a relatively long video. In fact, I think it's the longest video I've done so far. That being said, we are going to talk about today's workout in a few different ways. So a little bit more than just how the workout went, but also things that came up, thoughts I had, and I would call this a realization workout, and I'll explain completely what that means. But I got to the gym, I did a half mile on the elliptical. I think that took me 4 minutes and 27 seconds to do, and then I went over to the platform. I did my usual hang snatch, and as you can probably tell, I'm back to my normal weights, so just doing 10-pound jumps starting from 45 to 55 to 65, so 3 triples, and then from there I went to the floor and started doing doubles from 75 all the way to my first working weight. And Monday was different in that I did aggressive jumps with the warm-ups from the primer all the way until the first working set for Snatch. And today I did what I had been doing prior, and it's interesting because I got to my first working set today with 115 pounds, and it went okay, but, and I'm going to be talking pretty much throughout the exercise itself, but it did feel very similar to the way it did on Monday. So were the warm-ups more aggressive than usual? Yes, on Monday that is. And did that cause me to repeat some sets? Yes, absolutely. Today, the warm-ups felt more comfortable because they were simply what I had been accustomed to. So doing very gradual increases makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, with exercises that you go much heavier on, you can afford to take bigger jumps, and that way you don't have to exhaust yourself doing a lot of warm-ups, but you do what's appropriate. For today's workout, in general, it was a bit rough. It wasn't too bad. I didn't feel as winded or as tired from like last time. But today, like, here's this first double, or actually it's the only double. Spoiler alert, it's the only double I do. So the first rep felt fine. Now when I did the second rep here, see how my shoulders went back a bit? I felt the bar kind of taking me back a little bit. That just said, you know what, I don't want a repeat of what happened Monday, so I'm just going to do singles. No problem, I'll still get a good amount of volume in, and I just wanted to do singles. And interestingly enough, I had that thought in my mind going to the gym, maybe just drop the volume and drop the sets to singles instead of doubles. That did cross my mind, and I wanted to just see how the double felt. So depending on how that went would determine how the workout would be, and you're going to see a mix of singles. Like, for example, that third single, not good. Not good at all, actually. This one, much better. So with the snatch, it was really just throw up a bunch of singles. I wasn't even counting. Once I got past, I think, 6, I stopped counting, and I just wanted to keep going and keep going. So it wasn't about adhering to the prescribed volume, but it was more of, okay, I want this to get at least comfortable or have the good ones outweigh or outnumber the bad ones. So you're going to see a lot of singles, and that's okay, because I really wanted to try my best to do some troubleshooting on the spot and just have a good sense of when a decent rep is happening versus when one that isn't. So it was a lot of experimenting, not necessarily in technique, but just in paying attention and being aware of how each one felt and how to kind of almost determine how rep will be before it actually even happens, that sort of idea, or even while it's happening. So again, you'll see a mix of reps here. Some are decent, fewer I think were borderline good, and some that of course were not. So with stability and things like that, it started to come into play, and a bit of on fatigue like that right there. sometimes when I stall a little bit or I had that little bit of a stutter, a lot of times that comes to bar positioning. So if I feel the bar pulling back, that's when I'll stop my hips. And that's actually not really voluntary, it just kind of happens. So as soon as I feel a pull backwards to keep myself grounded and to keep from falling back, my hips will actually stop. Now I can still continue to drop down, but my hips will certainly, at the very least, stop for a bit or hesitate before continuing. So whenever you see that, that's pretty much the reason. And I went back to 90 seconds of rest in between sets, simply for the fact that I'm only doing singles and not doubles. That said, I should probably still stick with longer rest periods, but I figured, you know what, I'm going back down to singles, so let's see if we can do 90 seconds in between sets, or in this case in between reps. And overall it was an interesting day, and again, it was really a big realization type of workout, and I'll talk much more about that during the strength movers. Now for clean and jerk, well, first of all, I did a whole bunch of snatch reps, and way more than I had anticipated, so that did tire me out. And when I was warming up for clean and jerk, actually the warm-ups felt fine. So did my usual 135 to 155 to 175 and then to 195, and not bad, not bad. This is actually still comfortable, which is good. It really ought to be, just on an absolute weight type of approach, but also considering the snatch volume and that I had already done a bunch of snatch reps and then getting to clean and jerk, I'm actually pretty happy that this is comfortable. And the clean felt better, felt a little bit more locked in today, and the jerk itself, not bad at all. So there were a couple reps where my right ankle went a little bit unstable, like that one right there. You kind of see a little bit of a wiggle, just a little bit. Part of that is actually due to an old parkour accident I had years ago, where I landed on the side of my ankle and I heard a really big crunch, and it just hasn't quite been the same since. So I can usually work around that, especially with the grinding lifts, the power lifts, things like that. I don't have any issues with those. But anytime where I'm landing on it, it doesn't hurt. It's not painful. It's just that it might not be the most stable. So that I could probably benefit from an ankle brace if I really wanted to get serious with it. But for the most part, I can usually self-correct, and typically it only comes out once in a while. But especially with something like a split jerk, which does involve a landing, especially going backwards, like that one, much better. So I am capable of landing firm and stable, but once in a while, you'll see like a little bit of a shift, a little bit of a jiggle, even, if you will, in the ankle, and it's not something that I'm really trying to prevent, but something that just comes out once in a while. Usually with just technique, I can power through and it doesn't even show, but once in a while you'll just see just a little bit of movement, and that's something that I have to deal with myself, and that's okay, because more often than not I don't have to worry about it. So like that one right there, rep number 7, same thing. Thankfully, like with clean and jerk, the same way I did it with snatch, I didn't really count. I just wanted to make sure I was getting the reps done. But I did end up with 8 and only 8, and that's all I needed. I didn't need to redo any of these. I didn't really feel like I needed to do above and beyond just the typical 8s that I've been doing, so that's good. Alright, so strength movers, really simply put, got through them, got them done. I just wanted to get them in and make sure that I got all my volume done, and I did. So you'll see the 5x5 with front squat and then the 5x3 with military press, both with 185 pounds, sorry. So going back to the idea of this being a realization workout, this applies to a few fronts and a few key points. First of all, it made me realize how aggressive I've been adding weight with progressive overload. Now, for the first few weeks, it wasn't a big problem, but I do realize now that going, especially with a conditioning style workout, if this was more for strength, it would be probably a little bit different. But since it's conditioning based, that was actually more than I should have done. Or at the very least, after the first 3 weeks or so, do something. Do some sort of adjustment, longer rest periods, smaller loads, so that way I start to go up 5 pounds for snatch and 10 pounds for clean and jerk, or something, or just volume, something. But keeping up with everything pretty much the same and constant, and just adding weight continuously like that, that's quite a bit. And not only that, but also doing these lifts 3 times a week is a lot. It's actually quite taxing. I remember when I did an old Russian powerlifting program that had you do a lot of 6 compound exercises, all power lifts, and then some, 3 days a week. And that was tough. That was really tough. And I started conservatively on that program, and it didn't take very long for it to catch up to me. With this program, same kind of concept, because you don't want to go too heavy too soon. And I was a little swept up with where my numbers had been when I was just focusing on singles and taking much longer rest periods, like 3 minutes of rest in between reps or even sets. Here, I've been doing 90 seconds every time, and with the exception of Monday, of course. But 90 seconds, that's not a lot of rest for Olympic movements and Olympic lifts. So I've already forgot that, because I was just so concentrated on the numbers that I had previously done with snatch and clean and jerk that I kind of forgot. Also, this program came to me from a former Olympic athlete and track and field athlete, very, very competitive athlete. And he said that he was burning out at 135 pounds for snatch. He was doing doubles, but 135, which for him is incredibly light. But with this style of program, that's a lot. And he wasn't doing all that much on clean and jerk either. He would only add a little bit more for clean and jerk, whereas I was going up exponentially. So the realization is I'm actually happy with where I've been able to get with this program. It has not been easy, but it has done a lot for me technique-wise, and I'll decide what I'll do probably the next couple days in terms of moving forward. And that's pretty much it, y'all. Hope y'all are having a good one. Take care, and remember, adopt, don't chop.